Rika Lake here, welcome back to my channel. I live on the west coast of Australia with my hubby Greg and our 5 kiddos. I have William, who is 16, Emily is 11, Cruz is 9, Jackson is 7, and little baby Jay turned 1. And here in the Lake House Homeschool, we have been homeschooling for 6 years now. And in today's video, I am going to do a review of the Minimalist homeschool curriculum that we did for term 3 here in the Lake House Homeschool. Now, this year is really the first year that I really took on this more minimalist approach to our homeschool curriculum, and we have really been enjoying it. Especially this year, we have had lots of sickness in the house this year. I don't know what it is about this year, but we just seem to get sickness at least every term. And for me in term 3, it was my turn to be really, really ill. I was so sick that my husband actually had to take a week off work to take care of me and take care of the children. So it's in circumstances like this that I'm super thankful that we have a minimalist curriculum. I don't have all of these things hanging over my head that I want to get completed by the end of the term. And we were able to do everything that I had set out bar one thing, which we will just roll over into term 4. So I'm just so thankful that we've just taken this more relaxed approach to homeschool, more minimalist approach, and we are still getting all the things done. I'm still covering all of the learning areas that we need to do, but just in a more condensed kind of format. So let me just go over the things that we did for this term. For language and literacy, we used the Good and the Beautiful Language Arts program, and I love this, and we will continue to keep using it. It's really working for our family. Now, one of the reasons I also love this for a minimalist curriculum, because it's got like 3 or 4 subjects in one. So it's cross-curricular. So not only is it language and literacy, so that is reading, writing, phonics, all of those kind of things in here. It also has geography in here too, and art appreciation, and we are Christians, and it's got some Bible worldview in there as well. So that's why I love this. So I haven't added in any extra geography this term. The geography in their language and literacy program is all that we need. So I've talked about this a lot in my other videos, but if you haven't, I will just run over it again. The Good and the Beautiful Language Arts program is an American curriculum, but here in Australia, it doesn't matter if it's an American program. The moderators are absolutely fine with that. You just make any changes along the way for things that you find. So if there's some spelling differences between Australian words and American words, you can just alter that. So I have downloaded the free copy of this curriculum. I love that they do that. You can buy the hard copies of this curriculum, but to get it shipped to Australia is, I'm just gonna put this down, is absolutely ridiculous. But the Good and the Beautiful on their website do offer free downloads of their language and literacy program, and also their science if you use, not their science, their math if you use that as well. And so I have simply, when we started using this, they do offer at the beginning, there's like a placement test that you can take. So you can place your child at the right level. And then I have just simply downloaded the level for each of my kiddos and printed it off at home. Everyone always asks me this, I have an Epson Eco Tank and print in color, both sides. And so I print off the free download and then I have a binding machine at home. I can't remember the brand of my binding machine. I just got it off of Amazon. But when I have a lot of binding to do, so I have 3 children's worth of curriculum to bind, I do it all at once, and my husband actually brings home the big binder from his office. So that's actually how I do it. But I actually, we do bind this ourselves. And so you can see I've just printed it off in color and bound it, and I've just got plastic on the front and on the back because the paper always comes off because my kids like to double over like this. So I put plastic on the back and not card. Usually you put like a thicker card, but I haven't done that. I've got plastic. So that's what we do for language and literacy. And My two boys who are 7 and 9 are still using reading eggs this year, and so they do their language and literacy, and I add in reading eggs for them as well. Usually I always forget to mention that we use reading eggs, but this will probably be the last year that we're using it, but I have loved reading eggs. We've used it for years, and so they are continuing to use reading eggs. For maths this term, we have been continuing to use Maths Online. It's just mathsonline.com.au. It's an online maths program which is aligned with the Australian curriculum, and we love this program. We have been using it since the beginning of our homeschool journey, and all of my children are using that, and we continue to use that in term 3. And we also did our times table practice as well. And for our times table practice, we were just simply learning our times table through rote learning. So just saying it over and over again until they had memorized it. And so that's what we have been doing for maths this term. Now, this term we had a science focus. Now, I don't do all of the subjects every term. So for term 3, we had a science focus, and that means we just did science, and I didn't study the history curriculum that we are using. I just kind of took it in terms. So term 1 was history. No, term 1 was science, term 2 was history, term 3 was science, term 4 will be history. I just find that's easier. You can do that. We have covered plenty of history and plenty of science in the school year by the time we get to the end. You don't have to be doing subjects like that every single term. And that is what I have found really helpful with keeping homeschool more minimalistic, is not doing every subject every term. So the 3 things that we do every term is language and literacy, maths, and Bible study. So I do those every single term, and then I throw in the other things as we're going. So as I said, it was science for term 3, and we were using this Planetarium book, and this worked out just perfectly. I had this book picked out, and I also had a space unit study from The Good and the Beautiful that I have used in the past on hand. If I found that this wasn't enough or wasn't engaging enough, we could switch over to that, but I didn't need to. We used this book, which is the Planetarium book. This is the junior edition. And this worked out just perfectly. So I didn't read the whole book to them. I just chose to read what it is that I wanted to them. So we started with learning about telescopes. And so, for instance, I would read the information aloud from this book about telescopes, and then we would jump on over to YouTube and watch some videos that would go along with what we were reading about. I just find that that's super helpful to just solidify all of the learning for the children. They've heard it, they've seen it. And then after I have done that, I would do some like recitation with the children. So I would then get them to tell back to me what they had learned about telescopes, so that I can get an understanding that they know what we were talking about. And then for the telescope lesson, we then went to my sister's house. She has an amazing telescope, and we were able to go there at nighttime to view the moon and Saturn. And so there you go, there's one lesson done. And so I would just read through this book. Again, just what I chose. We learned about the sun, all the planets and things like that. And basically what would happen, for example, just like I said about the telescope lesson, I would read aloud from this book. Say we're learning about Mercury, then we would go to YouTube and find some videos that are appropriate for children to watch about the planet. They would then recite back to me what it is that they had learnt about the planet, and then I would actually get them to write about what they had learnt as well. So each of my children have their own notebook, and this is my daughter's. I will show you hers. This is just a plain lined notebook which I picked up from Kmart. My other 2 boys do have the like exercise books that has like the dotted thirds to help them with their handwriting. But my daughter Emily, she is old enough. I just grabbed her a notebook from Kmart, and all of our subjects' work is contained in this one notebook. I don't have a separate notebook for every single subject that we're learning. I do have a separate one for history because that's more of an art notebook, but everything goes into here. So she needs to write anything down at any point, or she completes a worksheet. It just goes in here in any order. So on one page you've got, you know, her spelling words written out, and the next page she's writing about Mercury, and then the next page is about a story she's written. It doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter. I just keep it all in one notebook. We use this until the notebook is run out. So don't get a fresh one every year. This has probably got 2 years worth of work in it so far, and we just keep using it until it's full. And then I probably will recycle it. We won't hold on to it. So that is what we do. I'll just turn the camera around and then show you some of the things that we then did with our science. Now, I won't turn the camera around. I will just show you here. So then, for instance, she would just write a paragraph each time that we learnt about something. So they did some listening, they did some watching, they recited back to me what they had learnt, and then we just wrote, we would just do some writing to add into that. So super simple. And then along with the space theme, I added in 2 of these Who Was books. Now, these are science topics, but they could also be classed as history. Remember how I said we don't do history every term? This was a science term. Well, inevitably there is history thrown in here. And these are the 2 books that we did. We learnt about Galileo. So I read aloud the Who Was book, Galileo. That's really hard to say. I love these Who Was books. There's a series of books. There's heaps of them out. They're all about famous people from the past and people who are alive today. And then I believe there is a Where Is series as well, which also talks about famous landmarks. And so this is just super easy to read. I would read 2 chapters a time to my children each day. And we were learning all about Galileo. And then after I had finished that one, we then learnt about Neil Armstrong. Same kind of thing. It does have some black and white pictures, but it's basically the story of Neil Armstrong's life and how he became an astronaut and how he was the first man on the moon. So I read these throughout the term. As I said, I would read 2 chapters at a time, just one book at a time. So we worked on Galileo first. Then once we had done that one, then we did Neil Armstrong. I just find it's easier just to do one person at a time. If you're switching back and forth, I just find the kids are like, who was that again that did that? So that's just how I do it. So I read aloud to them from this book. Then once I had finished reading the book aloud, I then found some YouTube videos on them as well, again, just to help solidify their learning. And then I just went online and found, actually, I think I made up my own. So I know I did one for Galileo. We then did just a simple worksheet to go along with this. And I will show you my daughters. I just jumped into Canva. I don't know if you've used canva.com before, but it is a paid service that you can do, but they also offer a free account as well. And so I have Canva and we do a lot on there. And I just designed this worksheet in Canva for my children to complete. Usually what I do is actually just hit up Pinterest and just search for if anyone's got a free one on there. Or if you don't want to make something yourself, you can go to like Twinkle or Teachers Pay Teachers and pay for one. So sometimes people have made worksheets, especially on Teachers Pay Teachers. They might have created an activity or a worksheet, and you can buy it for like $1 or $2 and just download it. But I decided just to create one myself, and we just did this on Galileo. So once I had read the book aloud, then my children had this sheet to fill in. Look at her picture of Galileo. How cute is that? I did print off a how to draw Galileo step by step for them, and so they were able to do that. And it's simply just like, when was he born? When did he die? What was his occupation? And then list some interesting facts that you learnt about Galileo. So they completed that worksheet as well for Galileo. And along with that spacebook, I would sometimes print off some worksheets for them to do as well. So I just found this free one, which is Phases of the Moon, which is they could just simply label it. They didn't have to draw it or anything like that. It was just a really simple activity of them labeling the phases of the moon. So that's what we would do for Space for Science. We would just read aloud, watch videos, write about what we learned, talk about what we learned, and every now and then, not every time we did a lesson, every now and then we'd have a worksheet to work on. So so that's what I did for science. And then I also threw in lots of hands-on activities like STEM kits for them in the science area as well, but also being cross-curricular, it's technologies as well. So I didn't keep the boxes, I've only got the finished products. So each of my children had like a STEM kit to complete. So this was a really great solar system kit that I picked up from Kmart, Australia. And this all comes in pieces. So my children had to construct it. So the little planets aren't put together. They're not in the right order. You've got to figure out where they go. So obviously we have the sun here and the planets, and they actually do rotate around the sun. And this one is great because it's actually interactive. If you turn this on and click the little buttons that are down here. So if I click Jupiter, it then has a voiceover that tells me all about the planet Jupiter. And it actually has a light and the sun kind of shines out the top, and it has the little, the little viewing discs, and you can pop the viewing disc in there and you can look in there and look at real pictures of the planets. So this is just super cool. So my two boys had one of these each that they worked on to complete. And then my daughter made a Mars rover STEM kit. Again, I just picked this up from Kmart, Australia, very inexpensive. Some of the pieces have actually broken off. I'm not showing you the full Mars rover because my toddler loved this thing, and it didn't matter where I put it in the house, he always managed to get his little hands on it. So some of the pieces have broken off. But she did build the Mars rover and we did use it. It is solar powered. As you can see, there is a panel on the top here, and it's also battery powered as well. This came in 100 tiny little pieces. Let me tell you, when she opened it, I was like, oh my goodness. But she was able to complete this on her own. I think her dad might have helped her a little bit. They did these kits when I was sick in bed, which was great because Dad was home, but she managed to do it. So she built a Mars rover, she really enjoyed that. So the boys had the solar system kit and Emily had the Mars rover, just because this was she's older than them and this is a bit more difficult for them, for her to complete. So yeah. And we also had just this fun activity, again, just picked this up from Kmart, Australia. It came all in pieces, and things like this is what my children would do when I would read aloud. So this is a colouring in project. So this is learning the planets. So my daughter's made this. She has coloured the sun in. She has coloured all the planets in. They're on wood, but they weren't coloured. And it came with markers. And so she has correctly coloured them and put them in order. And the idea is that then you learn how to learn the planet's order, distance from the sun, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of fun little activities that they could do while I'm reading aloud and while they are watching. That was kind of the idea behind that. But Kmart Australia often has great STEM kits, and I check there every term or every year for a kit that I could get that the kids can use. And then the last STEM project that we had to go with this space theme was this one. I actually picked this up from Temu, of all places. And again, my toddler has gotten a hold of this, so it's not in its complete state. The Earth is missing right here. There's a Earth that should be there, and he's accidentally taken it off. But This came again in 100 little pieces, and my husband had to help them with this, but they built this. And basically when you turn it on, this is the sun, and this is Earth, and this is our moon. And the mechanics go that the Earth rotates around the sun, and the moon goes with it, and it goes around. And so that was just a fun little STEM kit that they worked on together, and then also shows, you know, how this whole thing works. So that was pretty cool. They really enjoyed that. And then another fun thing that I threw in this term was learning about magnets. And this wasn't something that I had planned. It's just something that fell into my lap. My mum actually gave me this book, and it's a kit. I've got all the pieces in here, and it's just learning about magnetism. My words are just spilling out today. But it came with everything that you need to do all of these little experiments with magnets. And so basically I just went through with one child at a time, so that because there's only like enough for one child to kind of do it. So I just did it one child at a time. And it just shows you the experiment, and you can do it and make some cool things. So we worked through this book, and then as you can see here, this is the container, and it came with everything that we need. So you can see there's all the magnets, paper clips, coil. It came with a compass even, and so it was like everything we needed to conduct those magnetic experiments. This is so old. I don't even know where my mum got this from. I think a friend gave it to her to give to me, and yeah, so I can't even link it for you, but this was excellent. We really enjoyed that. Now, for our Bible study, as I said, that's something that we do all through the year, and we're still working on this book, which is called Eyes That See and Ears That Hear, a parent's guide to teaching their children how to hear the voice of the Lord. I will link I'll put a link in the description box to everything that I have shown you here, so I'll pop one down here. I've actually got the ebook version that I have printed off and again just bound myself. This is something that we are slowly working our way through. I just do this once a week. So Friday mornings we usually spend on Bible time, and we do worship together, and I will read aloud from the Bible to my children, and usually read some Psalms. And then at the moment we're working our way through Acts. We're just learning. We're on to Acts now, looking at the early church. We had looked at Jesus, and then now into the early church. And so do that, and then we do this. Love it. Absolutely recommend this curriculum. My children really enjoy it. I do it with all of my children, so my 16-year-old, 11, 9, and 7-year-old, and it's so helpful. And it's my favorite time of the week. It's such a beautiful time to spend together, praying for one another, learning to hear the voice of the Lord, and then prophesying over each other. It is just my most favorite time. I love this. Now, that is all that we did. The one thing that I didn't get to that I had planned on using was we were going to learn about Vincent van Gogh this year, and I had this book this term. I had this book that I was going to read aloud, and it's just the story of his life with colour pictures of some of his artwork, but also some cute little illustrations as well. And so I didn't get to doing that this term, and so I am just going to roll this on over to term 4. So next term we will learn about Vincent van Gogh. But that's pretty much the only thing that I did not get to, which is, I think, great. I'm able now to know how much we will get through in a term, what is the right amount. And also I'll just show you another cute activity. Now, as I said, I was really sick this term, and so some other people looked after my children while I was sick. My husband and I went away for our anniversary, and my mother-in-law looked after the children. Actually did homeschool with the kids, and she used to be an art teacher, so she did some artwork with them. She was and they each got a canvas that they created, and this is my daughter's. Isn't that beautiful? She was teaching them about perspective, like how to draw the mountains in the background and the trees in the forefront and things like that. And so they each created this, it's on proper canvas, they each created one of these art pieces this term as well. And so I love it that she did that. She bought all of the supplies and taught them that, and I had such a great time with their nanny learning art. So that's another thing that they did for art. So there you go. They're all the things that we used for term 3 here in the Lake House Homeschool as a part of this more minimalistic homeschool journey that we are on. It actually did feel like a lot, you know, all of the things that we did feel like a lot, even though it's actually like more of a minimalist curriculum because I'm not doing every subject every term, but it is totally cross-curricular. And so that's, I think, the key to having a more minimalistic approach, you know, for that language and literacy that has geography in it. Well, I don't need to add any more geography if it's already covered in there, just things like that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed having a look at what we used. I will do another video looking at the curriculum that we're going to use for term 4. It's currently school holidays right now. We're in the first week of our 2-week school break that we have between terms here in Australia. So we finished up term 3. We're going to go into term 4, and that's the last term of the year. Wow, this year has gone so fast. So I will pop a video up for you just having a look at the curriculum that we're going to be using for term 4. If you have any questions at all, make sure you leave a comment in the comments box down below and I will get back to you. And don't forget to check out that description box. I will pop any links that I can into that description box. So if you would like to go and have a look at any of these things that I have shown you for yourself, you can go and have a look. And I'll pop some recommendations of some of my other homeschool videos in there as well. I would love it if you could subscribe and follow along on my channel. That would be great. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.